Hi there. Hello? Hello? Hey everyone, how you doing tonight? Or today, rather, sorry. I'm a little tired, not quite hungover, but ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce the special guest for our next panel, Mr. John Lancie.
All right. How many of you cannot hear me? Can you all hear me? All right. Okay. This is what I'd like to do, and that is that I'd like to open this up to questions right away. Okay? I'm sure you have lots of questions. I'm working on a couple of projects which I'll tell you about in the midst of all of this. And I thought we'd just get right down to business, as it were. So, and as long as I can hear you, just shout out your question. Raise your hand, shout out your question, and we'll just keep moving really quick. Okay? All right. Who wants to go first? Yes. What was it like knowing that Discord and Fluttershy were what? Are now friends. I didn't know that.
Hey, John, really quick. The stream can't hear you because you're not using the microphone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so,
Right.
yeah.
Well, I guess it shows you that I don't track the show nearly as well as you do. When I was doing Star Trek, people would ask me questions for which I said, no, you have to understand, don't ask me, you are the experts. So I kind of throw that back at you, just, you know. Okay, next. Yes? Hi, George. Okay, next. Yes.
I wanted to ask you, do you think they'll ever make a show-accurate Discord toy?
Well, I don't know whether they will or not. I have no idea. But somebody sent me, a group of bronies from Russia sent me the most extraordinary sculpture, I don't know if you can call it, made out of leather. Just phenomenal. Just really, really terrific. Yeah.
Do you want another one? We made one especially for you.
Oh, you did? Well, of course I do. Bring it up. Just put it right here. Oh, perfect. Perfect. Oh, you know what? This actually looks like something that would be made commercially. Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you very much. Thank you. Oh, by the way, while we're in the business of shout-outs, where is Jacob Hale? Will he raise his hand? Happy birthday. Okay, next.
Really quick, one more thing. For the sake of the stream, if you guys want to ask questions, could you come up to the mic? That way the stream can hear it all too.
Okay, I'll repeat the question.
Oh, you sure?
I will.
Okay.
All right. Okay, yes. What do I think the main difference is between Q from Star Trek and Discord? I was trying to think of something funny, but I watch so little that I don't even know what the regular shows are right now. You know, there isn't much difference. And I didn't know that when I took the job. I mean, I read it and I went, oh, you know, has a familiar rhythm to it and what have you. It wasn't until Lauren said to me, no, we actually wanted Q. We wanted, you to do this, that I went, oh, well, yeah, of course. It's very, very familiar and similar. Okay, next. Yes.
I'm soft-spoken like Fluttershy, so I have to go up here. Seeing as there are so many more men in the fandom than women, I wanted to ask you how it feels to be loved by so many men.
Well, somebody once in Star Trek asked me something somewhat similar about because they were all sure that Picard and Q had a thing going, and I had to remind them that I was bispecial. Oh, it's great. It's great. It's great. Yes.
Okay, so I formed a conclusion. Through many years of research and many interviews with Final Scratch, I have found your weakness. Do you want to know what it is?
Yes.
It's nothing. It's just the bass cannon.
Yeah. Whoop.
Please try to make questions relevant to the speaker.
And you know what? If you want to use the mic, go up there in advance, okay? So go ahead. Who's next? Go ahead. Fire away.
Discord, have you ate any good books lately?
Okay. Star Trek joke, for those of you who don't know. I said to Worf, have you eaten any good books lately? Yes, next.
Hello. I had something very important to tell you. All right. Well,
I'll
it has
be
a
the
question
judge
tied
of
onto it.
that.
I just didn't know if you knew this. All right. Your work with as Q on Star Trek inspired my parents to be so addicted to the series that they actually named me just the letter Q after you.
I am so sorry. What a burden that must be.
And I just wanted to show you my I just wanted to show you my ID to prove it that somebody loved
I
your character
believe
so
you.
much. All right.
I have two sons, and the younger one, when we were thinking of different names, we came up with one of the names was Dashel. We thought, oh, Dashel would be really a great name. And then it actually hinged on this. Yes, but the diminutive of that would be Dash, right? Dash. But what if he wasn't fast? Then he would be having to bear this thing where all his friends go, hey, come on, Dash. Do the, run, do the track meet. Well, I'm very sorry that your parents,
It's all right. It's an honor.
You can change it,
No, I don't want to. It's an honor to have my name as like you.
Have you thought of R or P?
No. Q is the best letter.
Okay. Next. Just lift her up.
How many bronies does it take to adjust a mic stand?
Discord, is it fun being a bad guy?
There is nothing more fun than being the naughtiest person in town. Try it. Yes.
Hello there. If they asked you, would you do a singing role for Discord?
Just remember that you asked that question.
I'd like to know what were your first thoughts when you were asked to play a role on My Little Pony?
Well, it came across this way. John, from my agent, John, you have an offer for an I don't know, cartoon or an animated thing, and it's I said, when, how much, and let me see the material. When worked out, how much was fine, and I looked at the material and I read probably about 3 pages, which is all I need to sort of get an idea, because they wanted an answer right away. And I said, call back in half an hour or whatever, an hour. I said, yeah, sure, great. And that was it. And when I came into the recording booth, they said, oh, Mr. Lancie, thank you so much. We're really so delighted to have you on. Because my mind is, because I'm really dyslexic, and I just have to make sure that I'm not too hyper-caffeinated so that the words don't float off the page, and that I wanted to just get into the booth and start working. So I'm just listening to the things I need to hear and what have you. And as you heard in the documentary, it wasn't until 3 months later that it came to me again. Okay, next.
This is John Delancey. In either of your screen time roles, were there any jokes from the internet that you would have liked to put in but couldn't? Or was it just the jokes you came up with?
The jokes on what?
The internet, like memes.
I don't know. I don't know about them. Yeah, you'll have to show me. Then I will have an opinion.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Howdy.
Howdy.
I was wondering, what was your favorite line as Discord, and what was your favorite line as Q?
Oh, I don't. You know what? I don't remember. There was a line in Q that I said. Oh, what was it? Tomorrow will be a good day. There'll be a wedding and a funeral. And then I turned to the camera and I said, but I thought all weddings were funerals. And they went, no, stop. We can't. John, please don't do that. It was a cheap shot. I don't know with Discord. I really don't know. It goes so fast. It goes so fast. And you are in a room with, well, you're in a room alone, and there is one or two engineers. There are one or two engineers in the other, through the glass, whatever, the window. And you're talking to people in Vancouver. 6, 7 people in Vancouver who, they have their opinions and, could you do this and could you do it that way? And you're just going bum, 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 like that. So there's no real time to linger. The only people who actually get to linger are you, who 3 months or 4 months, however long it takes for them to create these things, then come and watch the show, and then you can rewind it and watch again and focus down and stuff like that. So, okay, next.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi. I was wondering, how do you think Q would judge bronies?
Oh, you're all a bunch of perverts, that's what. Well, thankfully, Q does not have to judge bronies. It's John Delancey who has to judge bronies. And I don't feel that way. I think you're all a bunch of great people. So there you have it. Yeah. Okay.
Hello. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. Because last time I was up here, it didn't work. When someone asks you to do a Discord impression, what's your favorite one to use?
No one's ever asked me to do a Discord impression.
Well, then could you?
And also, the other thing is, too, is that I think they speed up. I'm pretty sure that they speed up my voice so that most of that bassiness is gone by the time. So whatever impressions that I might do wouldn't even sound like what you hear. Somebody said to me, or I think the first time I listened to it, I went, my God, that doesn't sound like me at all. And it's because it's sped up. I talk too slowly. All right, next.
Hello? I was just wondering, out of the main 6 ponies, which one is
I want before... Are you expecting something really bad to happen today? I mean, should we all be concerned? I mean, are you set up for something like, outside, some atmospheric thing to happen?
I keep the crowd safe, don't I? No one's going to bring a gun to this place now.
Well, we'll see.
I was wondering what your favorite of the main 6 ponies is. Which one is your favorite?
So we understand that sometimes you don't have time to actually follow the show, and that's completely okay. We're absolutely thrilled with the work that you have done for us, and we really do appreciate it. So my question to you, Mr. Delancey, is what keeps you coming back to us?
Well, I like the show, and I think that it's ultimately about good things, and I like the community, and I like to work. And I enjoy working on things. I wish that, for me in my business, the less time I'm on something, the less really involved I can be. I mean, I have had projects that I've worked on for many, 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 many months, and they have a big part of me. Unfortunately, shows where I don't put in a great deal of time, it's hard for me to associate. I mean, it's just like you, it's like meeting somebody in the street as opposed to, somebody you lived with for a year, So, but that said, when the opportunity comes around, I look forward to it. Yes?
Good day, Mr. Delancey. I am curious, what was it like going back for your second recording, knowing exactly what you were getting involved with this time?
They had to drag me kicking and screaming. It was fun. I mean, it's fun. It's fun to be... I've been on a number of shows where they're breakout shows, and you know it. Or in a breakout role, and you know it. And that's fun. So you ride that, and it's more than just knocking off whatever another project. It has a little frisson to it that's fun. Yeah. Okay, next.
Yeah. How you doing? That's not my question.
I guess the question is, how are you doing? Long night?
Well, no, my real question is...
Get a little closer to the mic.
I was just wondering if you prefer doing the 2-part episode, season premiere episode, of that third one where your character got redeemed.
Say that again?
The 2-part premiere episode where your character first made an appearance, or the second episode where you kind of were supposed to become a good guy.
Which do I like better? Oh,
yeah,
I don't have an opinion.
Mr. Delancey, I was wondering, what are your feelings about derpy hooves?
What's that? You tell me what that is.
The little pony with the cross-eyed.
Oh, I've heard a lot about that. If it's the part that I think is is important. I love the fact that something took place that was just the way I understood it, sort of like a mistake or an over, and that became kind of a mascot for a whole group of people, and that they ended up deciding to kind of champion that character. I thought that was great.
Mr. Delancey, first off, I just have to say it is amazing to be in front of you and asking you this
You
question.
don't need to call me Mr. Delancey each time. My liege is good.
Well then, my liege.
Yes. Yes.
How hard was it for you to get into your character knowing that you were going to play this chaotic character?
How difficult is it?
Yeah.
Well, maybe this is an indication of who I am. It isn't difficult at all. I've played a lot of characters that are in some way sort of chaotic. And it's fun playing things that you are constantly fragmenting and changing the course of what's being said, and oftentimes the course of the action, and that's great fun. It allows you to get really in the moment, so that your eyes can be picking up. I mean, I'm talking like voiceover stuff, but let's say if this were in just acting, in regular acting, your eyes can pick up all sorts of things that could one day say. Have you delivering it one way, and because the person doesn't have a smile on their face that day, or because you got out of the bed the wrong way, or because whatever, you just go with how you absolutely feel. It's a great indulgence of sorts, and it's quite fun to put yourself in that zone.
Hi there. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. How did you feel when they asked you to come back and do another episode for season 3?
I was delighted.
Good day, my liege. I was wondering, considering all the fandoms there are, especially something like Star Trek, why is it that you decided to make a documentary about bronies?
Because I went through the same thing that most people go through with bronies. In the documentary, you saw me say, I don't know, how many of you have seen it? Okay. In the documentary, you saw me say, or talk about going down to my computer and seeing all these emails. Yeah. And I called up to my wife and I said, what do you know about My Little Pony? And she said, well, you voiced it 3 months ago. And it's a cartoon for little girls. And I went, well, these are not little girls that are writing it. So immediately, if you say that to a person in the general public, of which I was at that moment, you go, well, it's 20-year-old guys who watch a cartoon for little girls. Everybody, you can see, I mean, I've said it to hundreds of people in testing out the, I'm more caffeinated, great. In testing out, the premise of this documentary. And you can see their eyes. At first, they're kind of glazing over, and their eyes go up, they're accessing, and they're going, and invariably I go, so where are you going with that? And they go, not good. Not good. I go, okay, so let me ask the next part of the question. Bunch of 20-year-old guys watching a cartoon intended for little girls. Yeah. And why does society have a problem with that? So then they say, well, because, and I go, but let me add now one other thing. 20-year-old guys watching a cartoon. The cartoon is about being kind and generous and loyal, and why does society have a problem with that? And they go, oh, well, I'm a little further now on to your side of the equation, John. Actually, I don't know. And hence that was the thing that fascinated Mike and me about this fandom. That there was a group of people who were willing to brave the ridicule of going to watch a show which was intended for little girls and extract something from it, bring it back up to the 20-year-old or 30-year-old level, and apply it in terms of parables and things like that for their way of living and their view of the world. And forever, it was, during the 8 months we had with it, we were forever asking this question, not with the intention of necessarily answering the question, but at least to expand its possibilities so that one would start in. As a friend of mine, I've had some friends come to watch the show who know nothing about bronies, nothing about fandom, nothing about it. They're head oncologists for two major hospitals in Los Angeles, who went through the journey that we wanted them to go through, or were hoping. She said afterwards at dinner, she said, I have to say that in the first 10 minutes, I found the whole notion sort of repugnant. And at the end, I felt that I had had a sea change in my own life. And it made me go, wow, I need to open up my eyes and see that there are all sorts of other possibilities out there that are good and that make people in the areas of, well, in any case, that are good. And so I felt that we had succeeded very well at that point.
Thank you, my liege.
Yeah.
First off, John, I'd like to say thank you very much for taking your time to be here and answering all of our questions. Big round of applause for you. And I had a booklet of questions here, but if I got to limit it to one, I got to say, of your experience with the fandom, the documentary, your forcible initiation, the amount of time you've just spent at these conventions, is there one single moment that stands out more than the other? What is the one thing you really remember just about this whole experience?
What I remembered at going to BronyCon is that I've been to many conventions through the work in which I've done in other shows. But BronyCon was very different in that the energy at BronyCon and the sense from the fandom that they were involved in something special and actually life-changing was really high. And that I was very concerned as to whether we were going to be able to capture something like that on film, because that's the most difficult thing to capture on film. I happened to watch a bunch of other documentaries in preparation for this, not the least of which is Comic-Con. And I had been to Comic-Con many, many times. And I thought that was one thing that they did not capture. And they had an extraordinary team and lots of ability to coverage and all sorts of stuff to be able to capture that energy. And I thought that was something that we did capture, and that was important to me.
Thank you very much. I swear my fealty to you.
Hello, I'm never been to a convention before. First convention. See this.
Bravo!
Amazing.
Bravo!
And I'm like, Line, questions, don't care how long the line is. Get in line, think of a question, got one right now. You, as Discord, watched all main 6 ponies become their exact opposite in the show and just sort of crumble beneath you. But which one was your favorite to see become the opposite of themselves?
You know, that's a really good question that deserves a really good answer. But I'm telling you what is really the case here. The extent from which when I do it to when it comes out is so long and so far away from me that I just don't go and I don't watch it. That doesn't mean I don't watch, well, My Little Pony. I just don't watch My Little Pony. I don't watch most anything. So I see things on the page, and I imagine them on the page. And then months later, way outside of my sphere of interest in terms of tracking something, they come up. So I don't have a good... And I'll let you in on what's been going on during this My Little Pony period. I made a decision about 2 years ago to sail to the South Seas in my own boat, which is a really adventurous expedition. It's a major expedition. I'll be at sea for 3.5 months. Everything has been about that. Everything. That's exclusively where my concentration is right now. I leave in a month. So, you know, I spend my time dealing with issues that have to do, which for me and for the 3 other people who I'm going with, friends of mine, they're all life issues. I mean, you know, is this the right size bolt to put in here? And you know, I just came from the boatyard yesterday. So that's where all of my concentration is. I've told my agents, since starting in, I don't know, what was it, December, I said, book me out. So I haven't been keeping track in sort of a good, in a way to be able to answer a question as good a question as that.
Okay.
Okay. But the next time we meet, I'll have a ready answer for you.
Hi, John. It's Aaron. No.
My liege to you.
Oh, excuse me. My lord and savior. My king. No, I realize I've heard, pray tell, that you've had some very strong feelings on the matter, so I'd like to ask, first of all, what are your feelings on Twilight Sparkle becoming an alicorn? No, but in all seriousness, my real question is, I'd like to ask, you worked on this documentary for a very long time and created a product just for us to sort of tell our story to the rest of the world. And in return, I'd like to ask you, what would you like from us from the Brony community to do for you? What would you like to see from us in the future? Not necessarily just towards you, but overall in general.
Well, I think that the Brony community has created something which is quite unique. And this is my perception of it, and the reason that I got pulled into this. When Mike Brockoff said to me, when he came to the house that night, just coincidentally after I was told that I had all these emails on my computer, and he said, "Let's do a documentary." I said no. I said no. I mean, why? I did one voice on a. No. I don't know who these people are. I don't know anything about this, and why would I wade into this? What took place after that is that I met a bunch of bronies. I was up in Canada and I was working, and I met a bunch of bronies, and I went, "Oh wow, they're really nice kids." And I have two sons who are now 25 and 27, and I recognized parts of them. And then when I saw the news things calling everybody unfortunate stuff and making really unpleasant associations with that, that's when I went to Mike, called Mike back, and I said, you know what, this group, if we've gotten to the point in our society that people who watch a show which is about, again, being kind and generous and good and what have you, that we have to make fun of them because we have this sort of gender confusion, then I think that these people need some help. They need to be able to be identified before they are continued to be identified by, like, Howard Stern and people like that. So that's how we got into it. And the Kickstarter campaign that we ended up doing, I said, it was a very short little speech, but I said, it will be this, I promise you that this documentary will be respectful, insightful, and entertaining. And I think that that's exactly what we've done. And the people who I know, who are my compatriots, who are, people of my age, who are watching something that they kind of go like, oh my God, they walk away going, wow, this seems to come at a time, this is timely. In a world where we've become so extraordinarily polarized, the opportunity to work together, to make things be positive, to put a good light on stuff is really important. And so I think that that's what the community has at large that's so unique. And I would hope that the community takes that part, not all of the stuff that goes on around it, for which I've read some of it and finally said, oh, you know what, it's pointless to read much of this stuff. And I hope that they take that and continue to build on it, because I think that it not only is a good personal choice, but it's also a good group choice, and also ultimately it's a good major social choice, and that is, let's make things work and let's work together. Okay.
Grand Poobah Lancie. My question is, when you were recording your lines, did you ever go on like a ad-lib tangent, or did you just go by the script? Like, is there something that you might have said off of script that might have made it into the show?
I'm not familiar enough with the milieu of doing this to go off the lines. If somebody says to me, oh, please add some stuff, then I will. But more often than not, usually, in the world at least that I come from, you have to be letter perfect. And they don't want anything more. I just did a recording a couple of days ago of, and there were a couple of places I ad-libbed, but not a big deal. Yeah.
Thank you.
So you said before that you don't really get to watch television much. What was your career in exploring the seas and such? But like Bronies, I was wondering if you have maybe a show, movie, any media that you like that is not necessarily for your demographic, maybe for a younger audience. That isn't necessarily My Little Pony as well.
I didn't know. I flunked out of school a couple of times, and my parents decided to pull the television out of the house. So I never really grew up making a date with the TV. So I really never watched anything. I have to say that of late, mostly through kind of a Netflix sort of thing, is that if somebody says to me, oh, you need to watch this, John, you need to watch it, and I have to say it to me like 15 times, and I find myself, and I get involved, I love the opportunity of being able to go, oh, well, I want to see the next one, and now the next one, and now the next one, and oh my God, it's 4 hours, I can hardly stand it. And so I'll watch things like that. I really enjoyed watching Rome. I really enjoyed, somebody gave me the opening things of True Blood, which I thought was really well done. One of the best credit intros that I have ever seen, by the way. So there are shows like that, but most of the time I just don't. I just don't. Also, I used to spend a lot of time writing things. So, and then, you know, a lot of stuff that had to do with music and stuff like that. So I just used my time differently. Yeah. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, John. Excuse me. Hi. My great aunt and current guardian.
Is that your real hair color?
Oh no, gosh, no! I wish.
It isn't?
No, unfortunately not. But my great aunt and current guardian is June Westmore, head makeup artist from Star Trek Enterprise.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'm currently living with her, and she's, you know, not in the best health right now. She's getting old. She had 2 strokes last year. She recently had foot surgery. And, sorry. And I was, you know, I was talking to her, and I told her that you were going to be at this convention. And I understand if this is too much to ask, but she said that out of all the guest stars from Star Trek that you were the only actor that didn't get to give her an autographed picture for her Star Trek book. And
I will be happy to.
Thank you.
And send her my best. And send her my best.
Okay, well, yeah, she says hi, by the way.
Yeah.
But thank you so much. You don't know how much this will mean to her.
Oh, well, that's all right. Okay. You're lucky she didn't put Ferengi ears on you. Yes.
That was beautiful. All right. John, I watched a lot of interviews on you through Everfree Network and a bunch of other things where they do interview you. And I always find that whenever you are being interviewed, your answers are always so well thought out, very articulated, very...
Not today.
Well, that's the thing, though. Even if your answers are maybe a minute, 5 minutes, whatever, they're always so... I don't want to say full of heart, but they feel like there's like meaning to it. So I just want to let you know that whenever I hear you giving responses, it always feels like I'm listening to that history teacher that you really, really liked, and you always hated when when the class period was over. So I just wanted to say you have a very amazing speaking voice.
Thank you. And your paper is still late, and you're getting an F. So don't bring me any apples or anything.
Can I turn it in on Monday? Come on.
Yeah. All right, next.
I just simply wanted to ask, what was out of all the shows you did or voiced on, what was your favorite or the one you had the most fun on?
Well, without sounding like I'm pandering, this is the one that has the most going on in it. Now, also understand, I had a company, Leonard Nimoy and I had a partnership together called Alien Voices. I had directed War of the Worlds with Leonard, and then I came to Leonard afterwards and I said, "Did you have a good time?" And he said, "Oh, I had a great time." And I said, "Well, I have an idea for creating a company where we would dramatize classic science fiction." And he said, "Let's go for it." And so we created Alien Voices. And Alien Voices, if you're interested in going up there, they're, I don't know, they're whatever, they're $9 or something like that. Alienvoices.net. You can purchase really majorly produced 2-hour, really wonderful renditions of Time Machine, Journey to the Center of the Earth, The Lost World, First Men in the Moon, I don't know, there are a bunch of others. And I got to hire wonderful, Peter Erskine, who's one of the great jazz musicians in America. I got to hire him and some great, wonderful, all Star Trek actors to do the voices. And so that was a lot of fun. And then this show, because this show really requires that it isn't stuff like in, like a lot of the video games, John, could you do that again? I'm gonna kill you. Yeah. No, could you make it really, really, really mean? I mean, yeah. So, My Little Pony has been fun. Yeah.
All right. Thank you for your time, my liege.
Yeah. Yeah.
Salutations, my liege.
Boy, I started something here that I'm going to regret. I can see.
My question is regarding the documentary. Out of any part of the production being either going to BronyCon or doing the interviews or traveling around and doing all that stuff, which part would you feel was the most fulfilling in terms of heart and all that sort of stuff? What do you feel fulfilled you the most about producing this documentary?
Well, I had never done a documentary before, and the process of doing a documentary is much different than what I'm accustomed to. When I direct a play or wrote shows for Disney Hall or directed operas and what have you, it's a single vision. When you do a documentary, it's actually many people's visions. And so that's often hard to wrangle. You will have a director with their vision, you have a writer and then a producer, and then in this case, when we got so much more money, we had asked for 60 and we got 322 or whatever it was. What we ended up doing is that we said, well, we have to put all of that back into the documentary, which means that in the concentric circle that would have been 60 now becomes 5 times more. So we kept on going further and further and further out. We went to Israel, we went to Germany, we went to the Netherlands, to all sorts of different places. Mike and Laurent were involved, and then another camera person were involved in those parts. I was involved only in the BronyCon location shoot. Then another part, which is it's sort of a double-edged sword, and that is that be careful what you wish for. With a $60,000 budget, what you would have ended up having is probably about 50 hours of tape. 50 hours of tape is still a lot, but it's all very manageable and things that people would have been able to handle with one editor in a 6-week period. And then, of course, it still has to go through all of the broadcast stuff that is required for a broadcast quality documentary, and all of the legal stuff which is required, which is tremendously time-consuming and expensive. But because we And so we were willing to commit to this, what we thought would be a 2-month period. What ended up happening is that when the contributions were so much, and we said, well, we simply have to put it all back into the documentary, and we have to expand the scope of the documentary, what we were also doing was expanding our time involvement, which no one really kind of figured. It was sort of like, well, whew. So it ended up becoming a 8-month investment of time, which gets a little much after a while. And so my experience of the documentary, and the part that I was most involved with, was the tone. I wanted to make sure that there wasn't anything in there where people were going to say things, you know, that they would regret in years to come. You know, when you're interviewing, like a 15-year-old kid, you just don't, you don't want, I just said, no, we don't need that, and, you know, we need to keep on target. And on target is that, why are 20-year-old guys watching a cartoon intended for 10-year-old girls, and why does society have a problem with that? That's the target. That's what we have to make sure that everything fits in. And then we have to include the whole notion of the enthusiasm and the specialness with which they are approaching this, and the fact that society is not on their side, and hopefully we can come to the end of this 87 minutes with people who might have started going, well, boy, these are a bunch of weirdos, going, wow, I can see that this is more than what my first thought, my, judge a book by its cover thought was. So those are the things that I was highly involved in. But the actual having to go to England and stuff like that, I didn't go. I had other jobs to do as well. Other things to shoot. And that really rested on Mike, who works along with Nick. Just, I don't know, maybe 12, 15 hours a day, 7 days a week on it. So, okay.
Thank you very much.
No.
Hello? My question, is there, given the particular work that you do and have been doing for quite some time, is there any one particular piece of advice you would give to someone such as myself who is hoping to get into the voice acting, just film industry in general?
Yes. My advice to you is to think of this as a sport, as an athletic event. You would never say to me that tomorrow you're going to run a marathon without having practiced running, just around the block, and then finally a 5K, and then a 10K, and then, right. A lot of people think that what we do, because it just has to do with talking, is, well, I talks and he talks, so it's sort of simple. It really isn't. And you have 365 days of the year, okay? You need to be acting 365 days of the year. That's your task. And that's very different than acting out. Okay? I'm not interested in your hissy fits about, well, I'm not going to do this, and, That's a lot of drama stuff that goes on. That's offstage drama. You have to be able to put that drama into the material. And the only way in which you're going to do that is to find, do you live here in town?
St. George. It's a few hours north of here.
Okay. Well, St. George probably doesn't have a theater there, does it?
They have Tuacahn High School Performing Arts.
Okay. Well, then be involved in that.
Yeah.
Be involved, and in wherever you are, do the things that are available for you. Also, create stuff. In this day and age, nobody needs you. Nobody needs you. So you have to carve out your own niche. You have to create your own projects. Half of the projects, frankly, more than half of the projects, 2/3 of the projects that I remember in my career are the ones that I created. Okay? So that's what you have to keep on doing over and over and over again. And you exhaust where you are, and then you come to the bigger town, and you exhaust there, and you go to the bigger town. The worst thing that you could do is to go to New York or Los Angeles until you actually have some chops.
Thank you.
Just a quick reminder to everybody, we only have a few more minutes, so let's reduce it only to like 2 more questions, and then we'll have to wrap this up.
Okay.
Mr. John Lancie, it's a pleasure to meet you.
See, this is what I think is terrific about Bronies, is that he said that, and without any problem, everybody in line that wasn't 1 and 2 left the line. I mean, imagine. Okay, yes. This better be a good question. As a matter of fact, do you think that we should just, how about with an applause? You tell me whether I should answer this next question. I wouldn't be clapping so quickly. So yeah, go ahead. I'm teasing you. Go ahead.
No, I just had a real quick question. As a lot of people may or may not know, John Lancie also does a voice of Desmond's father from Assassin's Creed. And I was just wondering what it was like switching from I didn't even recognize it at first because it was much more somber than what a lot of your voice acting is compared to like Discord or Q. And I was just wondering what it was like playing a more somber, down-to-earth character compared to a lot of the other voice acting that you've done.
None of that really. Yeah, it's a good question. There is a part of you. There is a part in me, and then a part in you that you have to find to be able to play any and all characters. Okay, I'm limited to certain things that I do better and what have you, perhaps as any actor would be, but to quiet over there. So it's important to find that part in you, okay? And once you find that part, I think with the Desmond thing, it was me trying to get my son to do certain, like that. Yeah. Well, I have sons. I've been a son. I know that thing. And you just begin to hone down until you find that place, that tone, and you're always playing an action. You're always wanting to have something happen. It's not just the idea like this. It's do this, go there, fulfill that. And once you get into that line of acting, then everything sort of makes it easier and it opens up and you are doing what needs to be done. And so that's why these different roles I don't think of as being more or less, oh my God, I was Mr. whatever, really high as a kite on one thing and then down here on another. I don't think of them that way. Okay?
Thank you. Great voice acting, by the way.
Thanks.
Love it.
John, what makes you want to interact with the Bronies despite not following or watching the entire show? Do you think that kind of limits your knowledge on the fandom, or does it follow a lot of how the Star Trek fandom was?
It follows a lot of how the Star Trek fandom was. That's one. The other thing is this, is that I come out of the theater where what you would do is that you would do the play, right? You would take off your costume and your makeup and you would walk to the stage door, and there would always be 4 or 5 people there who wanted you to sign something and wanted to talk about the play and what have you, and you would go on. Now with a play, obviously I'm going to know a lot more about it because I had lived it at the very least for 2 months. And if it's a long run, I would have lived it for, you know, a half a year. So I like that. I like that encounter. I like the encounter of you know, the little girl who asked me, you know, whatever the question it was. I just like the people involved. And so to be supportive of that, and especially in this case, to be supportive of something that I think has more to do with
The board with the community, you mean, right?
right.
Okay.
It's just I feel you're involved in something that's bigger than than just yourselves, and so I like that. Yeah. So that's why I like to be involved. All right, one more question. One last question. Yes, yes.
Afternoon, sir. Okay. When you announced the Kickstarter campaign and you asked for $60,000 from us, what was your reaction when you got 5 times the amount?
I was both shocked. I mean, in a good way. Really, I mean, really, we just couldn't believe it. It made me very nervous because we were now embarking on something. It was easy to understand how you could come into a room with 2 cameras and shoot for 2 days and create a little something. Now it was like, holy shit. You know, that's why I made a judgment call, which has caused us a little bit of problem, and that is that in our business, this is how these things would happen, and that is that a licensing fee, let's just call Kickstarter was a studio, or excuse me, a network that was giving you a licensing fee for a show, $322. You would take, I don't know, it depends, a quarter or even a third of that off the top and deal with producers and deal with directors and stuff like that. But because, and that's always been a problem in our business, but because I didn't want there to be any issues about that, and neither did Mike, we decided that we would use another model. And that is that we would dump all of it into the show, and that we would then give that back to the people who were the Kickstarter contributors, so that they really got 322 on the screen, not 222. But because it's a digital thing, because there's a lot of, you know, should we call it sharing and what have you, that model has sort of crashed for us. And so those, like Mike in particular, and the director and the writer and then the 3 producers, we didn't figure that was going to happen. So it happened. But that doesn't take away from the fact that we're really proud of the material that did go up there. And I think that we used the money really wisely in terms of expanding the scope. We were able to find people. I was particularly interested in some of the people who we focused on in the documentary. I thought that was really wonderful. So I'm happy about it. And as I said, I know in the community it's very split. Everybody's got an opinion and what have you, and that's always the way it is. And for somebody like myself who's done a lot of shows, you just have to learn after a while that you have to follow your own gut. and I say this to anybody who does anything, you just do what you think is right. And there will be all sorts of people out there. But the people who I show it to, who would have been very possibly the Fox News type people, who go in feeling, having a certain, attitude about this, and come out of it. In my own home, I've done this now 4 times. In my house, you get the movie and a complimentary dinner. And I've invited people, my friends who go, I'll call, my architect friends with this and the person, actually when I go back on Monday, I'm having another little screening. And I just listen to what they have to say. And they're all come out of it feeling really good about Bronies. And I feel that is mission accomplished.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much.